Self-respect is the foundation of irresistible power, and until you understand this truth, you will always find yourself giving more than you should, chasing what should be chasing you, and settling for less than what you truly deserve. Self-respect is not just a word, not just a vague concept people throw around in motivational speeches. It is the very armor that protects your dignity, the crown that sits silently on your head even when no one else acknowledges it. Without self-respect, you become a prisoner of other people's opinions. Their approval becomes your drug, and their attention becomes your oxygen. But when you build self-respect, when you refuse to compromise who you are for temporary validation, you become magnetic, unshakable, and impossible to forget. People don't fall in love with the one who bends to every demand. They fall in love with the one who knows their value so well that compromise never touches their core identity. Self-respect is what makes a person unforgettable. Think about it. Beauty might turn heads, charm might spark curiosity, but self-respect burns itself into memory like fire branding steel. When someone encounters you and sees that you cannot be manipulated, that you cannot be tripped into begging, that you refuse to chase what does not chase you back, a permanent impression is made. This is not arrogance, this is not ego. This is the deepest form of love you can show to yourself. And when you love yourself that much, others can't help but feel drawn to you. Respect for yourself signals to the world that you know your own worth, and it forces others to rise to meet your standard, or to fall away completely. And in truth, both outcomes serve you, because no one who cannot meet your standard deserves your presence anyway. Power begins where desperation ends. The moment you stop running after people to prove your worth, you step into a realm of true authority. People respect strength, and strength is never found in endless compromise. Look around at the people who command admiration without even asking for it. It's not always the most attractive, the most outgoing, or the most talented. It is the ones who stand in their truth without apology. They radiate an energy that says, "I do not need you to complete me. I am already whole." And because they are whole, people crave their presence, crave their approval, crave even a fraction of their attention. Self-respect turns the tables. Suddenly, you are not the one hoping for loyalty. You are the one loyalty is begged from. You are not the one desperate for love. You are the one love cannot afford to lose. And let's be clear, self-respect does not mean coldness. It does not mean shutting your heart to the world or treating others with cruelty. True self-respect carries warmth, but it also carries boundaries. It means you can give love without losing yourself. It means you can be kind without being used, loyal without being blind, generous without being drained. It means that when someone tries to test your limits, you do not hesitate to walk away, because you know walking away creates more strength than begging someone to stay ever will. That unshakable confidence is what builds power. It is what makes people addicted to your energy, because deep down they know they cannot break you. Think of the people you respect most in your own life. It is not the ones who handed you everything you wanted. It is not the ones who lowered themselves to keep you happy. It is the ones who drew a line, who said, "This is who I am, and I will not step beneath this level." And though you may not have liked it in the moment, you could not ignore them. You carried their voice in your mind long after they were gone. That is the effect of self-respect. It makes you unforgettable. The world tries to convince you that playing small, that being agreeable, that pleasing everyone is the way to be loved. But love built on compromise is shallow, weak, and destined to fail. Love built on self-respect, however, grows into obsession because it is rooted in strength. There is nothing more addictive than someone who cannot be broken. When you hold your head high, when you refuse to settle, when you walk away from anything that does not match your worth, you teach others how to treat you. People are drawn to challenge, to mystery, to rarity. Self-respect makes you rare because most of the world is desperate to be chosen, desperate to be liked, desperate to be noticed. But when you rise above desperation, when you stop running after what is not meant for you, you instantly separate yourself from the crowd. That separation is power. That separation is what creates longing in others. Self-respect also builds a foundation of inner peace, because when you respect yourself, you no longer live in fear of rejection. You no longer live in fear of being left behind, because you know you are enough without anyone else's presence. And ironically, when you no longer fear losing people, they cling tighter. When you no longer fight to prove your worth shines naturally. The calm confidence that self-respect produces is more powerful than loud declarations of strength. It is quiet but undeniable, and it is in that quiet strength that true attraction is born. Never forget, respect comes before love. Without respect, love is fragile, temporary, and eventually poisoned. But with respect, love becomes unshakable. People will forgive flaws, overlook imperfections, even endure distance when respect is present. And self-respect is where it all begins. You cannot demand respect from the world if you do not give it to yourself first. You cannot hope to be treated as valuable if you are the first one to sell yourself short. The way you allow others to treat you is the reflection of how deeply you respect yourself. So if you want to step into true power, if you want to be unforgettable, if you want others to crave your presence and never recover from your absence, then stop chasing and start respecting yourself. Demand more from yourself before you demand more from anyone else. Hold your head high not because the world says you are enough, but because you already know you are. The moment you decide your worth is not negotiable, your life changes forever. People will be drawn to you, addicted to you, unable to replace you. Not because you begged for it, not because you chased it, but because your self-respect made you irresistible. Mystery keeps desire alive longer than beauty ever could, because beauty is something the eyes grow used to, while mystery is something the soul can never quite grasp. The truth is, physical attraction will always catch attention, but attention is not the same as obsession. Desire is not built from what is seen, but from what cannot be fully understood, what cannot be easily owned, what cannot be neatly explained. A beautiful face may draw someone in, but it is mystery that keeps them searching, wondering, yearning for more. When you are mysterious, you are like a book with chapters unread, a story that keeps unfolding, a depth that no one can finish exploring. That is why mystery is powerful. It doesn't allow desire to settle, it keeps it burning, keeps it alive. When you hand everything over, when you reveal every detail of who you are, when you make yourself completely predictable, you rob desire of its oxygen. Desire lives in uncertainty, in the unknown, in the spaces between what is revealed and what is hidden. And people cannot help but chase what they do not fully understand. A mysterious person doesn't need to hide behind silence, but they know the power of not exposing every thought, every emotion, every move. They understand that restraint is not weakness, it is strength. To leave something unsaid, to let curiosity grow, to allow someone to wonder instead of always answering. This is what builds an unshakable pull. Beauty fades, not always physically, but emotionally. The more familiar something becomes, the easier it is to take for granted. That is why countless relationships die even when beauty remains. The desire vanished because the mystery disappeared. Mystery keeps the soul guessing, and guessing keeps the fire alive. The truth is, human nature is built on the hunger to discover, to conquer, to solve. When you are mysterious, you embody that hunger. You become a puzzle no one can complete, a treasure no one can fully claim, and that rarity is irresistible. But mystery is not about playing games nor about manipulation. It is about depth. It is about refusing to put your entire being on display for the sake of approval. It is about knowing that the deepest parts of who you are belong to you first, and only those who truly earn them may ever see them. Mystery is dignity. It is the refusal to allow someone to feel as though they have completely figured you out. And this is not because you are empty, it is because you are layered. You are not just one emotion, not just one thought, not just one version of yourself. You are an entire universe, and only those patient enough to explore will ever taste more of it. Think about history's most unforgettable figures, the ones who captured the hearts of millions. They were not always the most beautiful by superficial standards, but they were the most mysterious. They carried an aura, an energy that made people wonder. They spoke with power but never revealed everything. They gave enough to captivate, but never so much that curiosity was satisfied. Mystery feeds desire like nothing else can, because it gives the mind something to chase endlessly. And when the mind is chasing, the heart follows. Mystery also protects your value. When you are mysterious, you are not accessible to everyone. You are not spilling your life story to anyone who listens. You are not exposing your vulnerabilities to those who haven't earned the right to hold them. That separation builds value. What is rare is always more desired than what is common. When you live with mystery, you become rare, and the rare are always pursued. The common are always replaceable. Beauty alone can be replaced easily. Mystery cannot. That is why beauty without mystery is forgettable, but mystery with or without beauty remains unforgettable. Consider the relationships that faded in your own life. It was not because the person became less beautiful. It was because the desire evaporated. And why did it evaporate? Because there was nothing left to discover. Everything was given too quickly, too easily, too desperately. When there is no mystery, there is no chase, and when there is no chase, desire dies. Humans are not built to appreciate what is handed to them without effort. We are wired to value what we must work for, what we must seek, what we must earn. Mystery creates that dynamic effortlessly. A mysterious presence does not beg for attention, yet it receives it. A mysterious presence does not need to fight for desire, because desire is born from curiosity, and curiosity is automatic. Mystery allows you to control the pace of intimacy. You decide what is revealed, when it is revealed, and to whom, and that control is not about manipulation. It is about mastery of self. It is about understanding that not everyone deserves full access to you. It is about realizing that withholding parts of yourself is not cruelty, but a gift to those patient enough to prove themselves worthy. Mystery also creates respect. When people realize they cannot completely figure you out, they cannot box you in, they cannot claim ownership of you, they respect you more, because mystery is not chaos, it is discipline. It is choosing not to be predictable. It is choosing not to be common. It is choosing to let people earn what matters most. And in that earning, desire not only grows, it multiplies. And let's not ignore this truth. Beauty is fragile. It can be destroyed by time, by familiarity, by comparison. But mystery is timeless. A mysterious person at 20 can be just as captivating at 60 because mystery is about spirit, about energy, about presence. Not about physical appearance alone. A mysterious person does not compete with the superficial standards of the world because their allure is rooted in what cannot be copied. Anyone can be beautiful, few can be mysterious. So if you want to keep desire alive, stop thinking beauty is enough. Beauty attracts, but mystery captivates. Beauty gets attention, but mystery builds obsession. Beauty may open a door, but mystery keeps someone from ever wanting to walk away. The power of mystery is eternal. The moment you decide not to give everything away, not to make yourself predictable, not to hand out your soul like a free sample, you rise above the ordinary, you become unforgettable. Those who live without mystery are easily replaced. Those who live with mystery are impossible to let go of. Remember this, what is rare is always valued more than what is everywhere, and mystery makes you rare. That is why it keeps desire alive far longer than beauty ever could. Presence should feel like a privilege, never a guarantee, because the moment someone begins to believe they are entitled to you, the moment they assume your time, your love, your attention, and your energy are permanent and unconditional, they stop valuing them. Human nature is wired this way. What is guaranteed is often taken for granted, but what is scarce, what is uncertain, what is not promised is treasured. When you make your presence feel like a privilege, you raise its worth in the eyes of others. You teach them that being around you, speaking to you, having access to your energy, is something they must appreciate, something they must work to maintain, and something they should never treat casually. Too many people give their presence too freely. They remain available no matter how poorly they are treated. They continue giving love even when it is not respected, and they stay even when they are unappreciated. What happens then? Their presence loses its power. It no longer feels like a gift. It feels like a background noise. It is expected, and anything expected eventually becomes invisible. But when you begin to value yourself enough to step back, to withhold, to show that you do not exist for someone else's convenience, everything changes. Your presence becomes rare, and what is rare always commands more attention, more respect, and more desire. Think about the moments in life when you missed someone deeply. It wasn't when they were constantly around, constantly available, constantly giving without pause. It was when their presence was no longer guaranteed. It was when you realized you could lose them. That absence created longing, and that longing built respect. Presence, when treated as a privilege, creates this same effect without requiring loss. It creates an atmosphere where people know that you are not here because you have to be. You are here because you choose to be, and choice carries far more weight than obligation. Making your presence a privilege is not about arrogance, nor about manipulation. It is about self-respect. It is about recognizing that your energy is not endless and should not be wasted on people who treat it carelessly. It is about teaching others to see you not as an accessory to their life, but as a blessing within it. When you carry yourself with that kind of power, people feel it. They notice the difference between someone who is desperate to be accepted and someone who knows their acceptance is valuable. That difference is magnetic. When your presence is a privilege, people fight for it. They rise to the standards you set because they understand that losing access to you is not something they can easily recover from. You become the type of person whose time cannot be bought, whose attention cannot be demanded, whose loyalty cannot be forced. Instead, everything you give becomes intentional, chosen, deliberate. That deliberate energy is what makes your presence unforgettable. Every word you speak carries weight, every moment you share feels meaningful, and every silence you hold becomes louder than the noise of those who give themselves away too cheaply. There is another truth here. When your presence is treated like a privilege, you also protect your own heart. You no longer allow yourself to stay in spaces where you are unwanted. You no longer force yourself into the lives of those who do not appreciate you. You no longer chase validation. Instead, you live with the power of choice. You decide who deserves your time, who earns your loyalty, who gets to stand beside you. And in that choice, you preserve your dignity. You stop bleeding your energy into ungrateful hands and start investing it where it grows, where it flourishes, where it multiplies. The strongest people you will ever meet all have this in common. They understand the value of their presence. They do not beg for love because they know their love is a gift. They do not beg for attention because they know their attention is sacred. They do not remain where they are tolerated because they know they deserve to be celebrated. And because they know these things, they make their presence a privilege. You can feel it the moment they walk into a room, the energy shift. People notice, people adjust, people respect. Not because of arrogance, but because of alignment. These individuals have aligned themselves with their worth so deeply that others have no choice but to recognize it. If you give yourself too easily, you become invisible. If you stay when you are not valued, you teach people they can treat you carelessly. If you lower your standards for the sake of keeping people close, you destroy your own power. But when you value your presence, when you carry yourself as though being near you is a gift, you create a new dynamic. You no longer beg to be chosen. You become the one who chooses. And when you choose, you attract only those who are strong enough, loyal enough, and respectful enough to deserve you. Presence is powerful because it cannot be duplicated. No one else can bring your exact energy, your exact mind, your exact heart. And yet, so many waste this power by handing it out recklessly. The truth is, people are not addicted to what they see every day. They are addicted to what they feel they could lose. And if your presence feels like a privilege, not a guarantee, you create that dynamic naturally. You create an unshakable sense of value, a respect that cannot be faked, a desire that cannot be replaced. So let this truth sink deep. You are not here to be anyone's second option. You are not here to prove yourself to those who do not recognize your worth. You are not here to give endlessly until you are empty. Your presence is power, but only when you protect it. Only when you set boundaries. Only when you walk away from anything that treats it like a guarantee. That walk-away power is the root of self-respect, the root of dignity, and the root of true attraction. The most unforgettable people are the ones who mastered this. They are not remembered just for their looks, not just for their words, not just for their accomplishments, but for the way their presence felt like something extraordinary. They gave, but never too much. They loved, but never without limits. They stayed, but only where they were valued. And because of that, when they were gone, their absence echoed louder than any noise. Presence should feel like a privilege, never a guarantee, because when it is treated as a privilege, people never stop chasing, never stop valuing, never stop remembering. But when it becomes a guarantee, it is forgotten, overlooked, and replaced. Your time, your heart, your energy, these are sacred. Protect them. Give them only to those who recognize their worth. Walk away from those who don't. Because the moment you make your presence sacred, you become unforgettable. You become the privilege no one wants to lose, and this is the ultimate truth. You are not here to be background noise in anyone's life. You are not here to be the guarantee that people lean on when it's convenient. You are here to be valued, to be cherished, to be respected. The moment you allow your presence to be taken for granted, you hand away your own power. But when you decide that being with you is a privilege, when you carry yourself with that unshakable dignity, you change everything. People rise to meet you or they fall away, and either way you win, because you are no longer tied to desperation. You are tied to self-respect. Presence is not about always being seen, it's about being felt. It's about creating an energy so rare that even in your silence, even in your absence, they can't escape you. That is what happens when you protect your value. That is what happens when you make your time, your love, and your loyalty sacred. Never forget this. What is guaranteed is forgotten, but what is rare is unforgettable. Make your presence rare, make it a privilege, and you will never need to beg to be remembered. You will become impossible to forget.